Welcome to the Nation of History channel. Be sure to subscribe and like so you don't miss out on more videos like this one. Billy the Kid, born Henry McCarty in 1859 in New York, became a legendary figure of the Old West. He gained fame for rustling cattle and his ability to evade the law. Wild Bill Hickok appears in this photograph taken between 1865 and 1866, wearing his own clothes instead of theatrical outfits. He became one of the first famous gunslingers of the Old West. Annie Oakley was a renowned sharpshooter of the Old West, famed for her exceptional marksmanship. Born in 1860 in Ohio, she began shooting as a child to help support her family. In the 1880s, Geronimo led the Apache in conflicts against the United States government. He was known for his guerrilla tactics and for defending his people's lands and culture. Rose Dunn, known as Rose of Cimarron, became famous in the Old West for helping her outlaw boyfriend during a shootout in Ingalls, Oklahoma. In 1895, at age 15, she was involved in a gunfight between lawmen and outlaws that left several people wounded. The OK Corral became famous for the 1881 shootout in Tombstone, Arizona, involving lawmen and outlaws. In 1882, the corral was partly destroyed by fire, but remained a symbol of law in the Old West. The Dakota War of 1862 was marked by tensions between the Sioux tribes and the United States government. Land disputes and starvation sparked attacks that forced many settlers to flee their homes in search of safety. The Texas Rangers displayed their firearms as symbols of their role as frontier guardians. Formed unofficially by Stephen Austin in 1823 and officially organized in 1835, they became known for pursuing fugitives and upholding order. William Buffalo Bill Cody gained fame as a scout and buffalo hunter, supplying meat to railroad workers. In 1871, he posed with deer, showcasing his hunting prowess. Pearl Hart, a well-known outlaw of the Old West, took part in one of the last stagecoach robberies in Arizona in 1899. The case drew press attention, and Pearl became famous, even appearing in Cosmopolitan magazine. Bob Younger was a member of the infamous Younger Brothers gang, active in the American Midwest in the late 19th century. He and his brothers, Cole and Jim, carried out numerous robberies, mainly targeting banks and trains. Bill Doolin, a notorious outlaw of the Old West, began his criminal career with the Dalton Gang in the 1890s. After that gang's downfall, he formed his own group, the Wild Bunch, which robbed banks, trains, and stagecoaches. General George Custer and Colonel Ludlow took part in hunts and expeditions in the Old West. In 1874, they posed beside a grizzly bear, symbolizing their feats in the region. Custer was noted for his role in the American Civil War and for his explorations. The Transcontinental Railroad was completed at Promontory Summit, Utah on May 10, 1869. The Union Pacific and Central Pacific joined their tracks, linking the eastern and western United States for the first time. Deadwood, located in the Dakota Hills, thrived during the gold rush of 1876. When gold was discovered, thousands of people moved there in search of fortune. The 1889 photograph depicts the famous Deadwood stagecoach, an iconic means of transport in the Old West. It was used to carry passengers and gold between Deadwood, South Dakota, and Cheyenne, Wyoming. The Oklahoma Land Run, around 1889, drew thousands of people seeking new opportunities. men, women, horses, and wagons gathered to claim fertile land. In 1892, bison skulls were assembled as a symbol of the drastic decline of these animals on the American plains. Intense hunting in the 19th century, driven by demand for hides and meat, nearly drove them to extinction. Faro was one of the most popular card games in the Old West. In 1895, cowboys, miners, and gamblers gathered in saloons to play. Unlike poker, Faro had simple rules and quick rounds, attracting both newcomers and seasoned players. During the gold rush between 1848 and 1853, prospectors worked in El Dorado, California. The area was a hub of intense mining, drawing people eager for wealth. Kit Carson, a key frontiersman of the Wild West, was born on December 24, 1809. Carson was a renowned fur trader and explorer. He assisted explorer John C. Fremont in mapping routes to the American West. Pat Garrett became known as the sheriff who captured Billy the Kid. In New Mexico, he served as sheriff of Lincoln County and gained fame for his determination to enforce the law. Chief 2 Lance of the Brule Band, part of the Lakota Nation, fought to preserve his people's way of life. In 1891, he stood as a central figure in Native resistance to American expansion. William Brazen Bill Brazelton was a well-known figure in the Old West, famed for his stagecoach robberies around Tucson, Arizona. In 1878, he was captured after a shootout with law enforcement. Goldie Williams, known as Mag Murphy, was arrested for vagrancy in Nebraska on January 29, 1898. She appears defiant after her arrest, illustrating the reality of women in the Old West. In 1873, a Navajo warrior and his mother were photographed against a rocky landscape in the American Southwest. The warrior holds a bow, symbolizing strength and community protection. Between September 14th and 15th, 1893, crowds gathered south of Arkansas City, Kansas, awaiting the start of the Cherokee Strip Land Run. Tents were pitched as men and women prepared to claim land. George Parrott's fur mask and boots symbolize his outlaw life in the Old West. Parrott was known for cattle rustling and for using disguises to conceal his identity. In 1893, U.S. deputy marshals posed with the Clerical Corps in Perry, Oklahoma. This photograph shows the collaboration between local authorities and lawmen in the Old West. In 1888, engineers of the Deadwood Central Railroad worked on expanding the rail line. They used equipment like levels and theodolites to survey the land accurately. In October of 1866, Union Pacific Railroad directors met 250 miles west of Omaha in Nebraska Territory. They monitored the railroad's progress toward the American West. Between 1860 and 1874, pioneers built log cabins in Mariposa Grove at Yosemite National Park, California. These structures served as rest and shelter for travelers and explorers. In 1893, Apache tribe members delivered hay to Fort Apache, Arizona. This activity helped feed the horses and animals used at the fort. In 1877, Deadwood's Main Street in South Dakota was the center of commercial activity. The area housed shops, banks, and merchants from various regions. In the 1870s, Cerro Gordo, California, was a growing community. Buildings spread across the mountain slopes, creating a unique setting. In 1873, Pioche, Nevada, stood out for its rapid growth and numerous buildings. The town was known for its commercial activity and mining work. Between 1894 and 1895, Cripple Creek, Colorado, saw numerous stagecoaches that helped move people and goods. The town was known for its commerce and shops, including meat markets and saloons. A sandstorm struck Midland, Texas in 1894, demonstrating the power of nature in the American West. At that time, the region endured frequent droughts and storms, making life difficult for settlers and farmers. In Manhattan's city center in 1950, workers took part in installing a new illuminated sign. This event marked the beginning of a new era for Times Square as a tourist and cultural landmark. Between 1870 and 1898, workers gathered at the 101 Ranch south of Hunnewell, Kansas. The meeting was part of regular cattle management and support for the region's economic activities. In 1898, workers were operating at the Bobtail Mine in Black Hawk Gorge, Colorado. They used horses and equipment to extract materials from the caves. During the period from 1867 to 1868, a survey party camped at a site known as Russell's Tank in Arizona. They used covered wagons to haul equipment and supplies. Around 1889, mounted groups gathered in Guthrie in Indian Territory. This practice was part of local communities' routine, living in small villages and maintaining horse transport traditions. In 1892, groups gathered in Havre, Montana, for cultural gatherings and community activities. Families took part in events that strengthened social bonds and kept traditions alive. Around 1895, a teacher and her students posed in front of a mud brick school in Oklahoma Territory. The school was a key learning center for local children. Around 1889 in Guthrie, Oklahoma, people sought land to build their homes. During the land run, many settled in makeshift tents and shacks. In 1889, visitors from Sioux City rode stage coaches through the famous Great Hot Springs of Dakota. The group journey reflected the spirit of adventure and exploration in the Old West. Texas Jack Vermillion was a renowned gunslinger of the Old West, pictured here in an undated photograph. He stood out for his firearm skills and was known for backing legendary figures like Wyatt Earp in major showdowns. The first house on what is now Dodge City, Kansas, was built in August of 1872. It marked the beginning of a settlement that grew quickly. Dodge City became famous as a cattle trading hub and for its bustling life of cowboys, sheriffs, and saloons. This iconic portrait of Olive Oatman, a former Native American captive, was taken in 1856 after her rescue. Olive had been captured as a child by members of the Yavapai tribe and later sold to the Mojave. The photograph captures the lively atmosphere of an Old West saloon. In 1910, cowboys and barmaids gathered to socialize, surrounded by drinks and music. The men wore dapper outfits with hats and bandanas, while the women sported the era's modern hairstyles. This photograph shows a group of women in an Old West town around 1880. Many of them worked in brothels, a common aspect of life in mining towns. Nicholas and Virginia Earp were the parents of Wyatt Earp, who became famous as a sheriff in the Old West. Although the photograph's date is unknown, it depicts the couple who raised their family across various frontier towns. The photograph, titled "A True Western Girl," was taken in Del Rio, Texas in 1906. It shows a young woman wearing typical Old West attire, symbolizing the strength of women of that era. In 1897, bartenders served customers in a typical Old West saloon, a social hub of frontier towns. Cowboys, miners, and travelers gathered there to drink, play games, and converse. During the 1870s, portraits reflected Victorian aesthetics, characterized by soft lighting and solemn expressions. Photography studios became popular for capturing memories and honoring loved ones. A woman appears wearing a mask and bonnet on an undated occasion. Masks were common at social gatherings or for concealing identity in various cultures. In the 1920s, along the Columbia River, indigenous groups set up their camps. The tents, known as teepees, were traditional and used as dwellings. In 1871, Jose and Joe Clark returned from a successful hunt, carrying moose meat on their pack animals. Hunts were vital for sustaining communities at that time. The Bear River Hotel and the bridge over the Bear River were support points for travelers and traders in Box Elder County, Utah. In 1872, these sites served as strategic stops for rest and freight transport. John Kinney's gang terrorized southern New Mexico with cattle rustling in 1875. In the 1880 photograph, many believe he is the man standing. In 1882, students learned blacksmithing at Forest Grove School in Oregon, acquiring skills essential for life at the time. The school drew young people interested in working with metal and tools. In 1876, the Round Valley Agency's supply office and warehouse in California were essential community gathering points. These places provided basic goods for settlers and Native Americans living in the area. At the site known as Zuni Pass, around mid-1867, an engineers' camp was set up. They were surveying the Sierra Madre region in New Mexico. In Kern County, California, in the 1880s, families gathered around artesian wells. These wells were crucial for water supply in farming and cattle-raising areas. In 1858, Santa Clara, California, relied on stagecoaches to carry passengers between towns. These vehicles helped sustain commerce and communication in the region. In the 1870s, the town of Ouray, Colorado, saw stagecoach traffic that helped transport people and goods. These journeys were important for connecting the community with other regions. Around 1875, families traveled in covered wagons across California. These vehicles were essential for carrying people and their belongings on long journeys. Around 1890, rural workers in Montana used techniques for breaking horses. This activity was crucial for transportation and field work. In 1901, Nome, Alaska, celebrated the 4th of July with a public reading of the Declaration of Independence. Judge R.N. Stevens read it aloud to a crowd gathered in town. Around the 1890s, the town of Wilton, North Dakota, had a hotel and a general store. These establishments helped meet the needs of residents and visitors. In 1875, Main Street and Valley Avenue in Baker City, Oregon, hosted various commercial establishments. The area was known for its grocery stores, bakeries, and tobacco shops. In the small town of Waldo, Oregon, the main store served as a gathering place for residents. It offered services such as postal delivery, groceries, and assorted goods. Around the 1890s, Juneau's waterfront in Alaska featured various commercial and residential buildings. The town grew rapidly with regional trade and economic activities. Around 1880, Silver City, New Mexico, had busy streets and brick buildings. The town was known for its local trade and businesses that bolstered the economy. In 1881, Vermilion, South Dakota, was hit by a major Missouri River flood. Streets were filled with debris, and many buildings were damaged. Around 1890, Bartlesville in Oklahoma Territory experienced economic growth. Streets were being prepared for local commerce and improved mobility. In 1867, Ellsworth, Kansas, welcomed travelers and traders passing through town. The wooden buildings housed shops and services for those heading west. In the 1890s, Cortez Street in Prescott, Arizona, was known for its bustling businesses. The buildings housed shops, restaurants, and services that kept the town vibrant. Between 1897 and 1900, horseback rural workers assisted with daily tasks on a cattle ranch in Northern California. They were responsible for transporting and caring for the livestock. If you enjoyed this video and want to support the channel, please use the Super Thanks tool below. Your contribution helps us keep bringing you amazing historical content. Thank you so much for your support, and see you in the next video.